There we go. There we go. All right. All right. All right, guys. We're finally rolling. It took us a while. Let me get all of our friends on other platforms on. Let me edit this right here. 4 ways ADHD can ruin relationships. So if you're watching on the tube, we just updated the title. Now for my boys and girls on Facebook, we're gonna get that right for y'all right here. We were streaming earlier and I don't know what was going on with my setup, but we were having some issues. So now we're not having any issues. We can resume the programming as scheduled. I want to stay on topic and on schedule. Looks like we will be able to do that tonight. Big blessing. All right. I see people joining on TikTok. Sheepadoodle, BIPOC, Shakur. What a name. Pop the Scary. Saida, thank you for the like. I appreciate that. Kyle, Tyler, Stanley. I appreciate you. And we are live now on the book, looks like. Talk to him. What's going on, everybody? My name is Dr. Kodra. I'm your Hollywood mental health expert, and tonight we're talking about 4 ways that ADHD can ruin relationships. That was a topic that we picked for tonight, and we were supposed to start 30 minutes ago. It wasn't working. ADHD was trying to ruin the live stream, but fortunately, I did not let it ruin the live stream. I said, I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to figure this out. My sister and I, we figure things out like we always do. So we're talking about 4 ways that ADHD can ruin relationships. Go ahead and use the comment section to let me know where y'all are checking in from. If it doesn't already say your name, drop your name there. Like I said, my name is Dr. Kodra. I'm your Hollywood mental health expert. All right. We got Glitterbee on the talk. What's up, Glitterbee? Lily Pad Yoga, how are you doing? Shiara, Emma, Blanche, how are y'all doing? We got our friends on the tube as well, and then we got our friends on the book. All right. Emily, how are you, Emily? Hey, Kodra, I'm over here now. Emily, wherever you're at, whether it's Facebook or at TikTok, we appreciate you. Josh says ADHD. Josh, I appreciate you. Thank you for your attention. Micah says howdy. What's up, Micah? Glitterbee says it's a good day to be alive. It is a good day to be alive. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful that I have, air in my lungs and breath out of my mouth. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. All right. Josh is from Oakland and he has ADHD. All right, Josh, welcome to this neurodivergent family. We hope that you enjoyed over here. This is a friendly community. Over here, we have Democrats and Republicans kissing in the comment section. Regardless of what you believe, we all understand that we're here to get better and to feel better. So we keep a G. And I think we do a pretty good job of doing that. Let me pull up my list. Okay, of the 4 ways. All right, there we go. There we go. I got my list here. And I am about to start. Mr. God, G-A-A, what's up, Mr. God? The treatment they know. I appreciate you, my guy. Thank you. Abby, how are you? Kyle says, Dr. Kodra the GOAT. I appreciate you. In the words of Lil Baby, I never call myself a GOAT. I leave that up to the people. I messed up that line, so it wasn't that smooth. But Lil Baby said, is that emotionally scarred? Yeah, in emotionally scarred, he said, I never call myself a GOAT. I leave that up to the people. So I left it up to the folks, and that's what Kyle said. So in Kyle's words, I'm the GOAT. All right. Micah says, I don't have ADHD, but CTE. How old are you to be having CTE? You been playing football, or you're pretty old to have CTE? Ezra said, we're pretty young to be having CTE. Ezra said bars. And Josh says, I'm going broke because I can't stop spending. So we will talk about that tonight. And we'll talk about that under the category of impulsivity. Because when you're impulsive, not only does it probably hurt you, but it can hurt your teammates in life, right? And when I say your teammates, it means your kids, your parents, your spouses. So it's not just relationships in terms of who you're dating, but everybody around you. That's the collateral damage that can happen as a result of some of the things that we do without like thinking it all the way through. Courtney, I was born on a Monday, so that's correct. You think you fell on your head too many times, Josh? Ooh, sorry about that. Meg Smith, I see your comment and I appreciate you. Meg says, I want to say thank you so much for doing your lives. Because of watching you, I found the courage to go see a psychiatrist, and she was able to slowly get me off all 5 of my different anxiety medications. And last Thursday, I was officially diagnosed with ADHD at 37 years old. Checking in from Maine. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience. Meg in Maine, thank you for that story. I appreciate those kind words, and that's why I do what I do. I do this for the people who have had the same experiences that I've had. And we've already talked about women who have ADHD who get misdiagnosed with other things. So you get diagnosed with everything in the book, and they put you on all these medications when an accurate diagnosis would have prevented you from having to go through all that trouble. You get on the right medications, and then you can fly, right? Good diagnosis precedes good treatment. So that means that if you're misdiagnosed, not to say that you're screwed, but you're further away from getting the right help. So in a sense, you're momentarily screwed, but not screwed for forever. But we need that right diagnosis. So, Meg, thank you for sharing that story. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And let me see. Scooby says, I would love to go. Oh, do I have any regrets? No, I don't have any regrets for seeking professional help. If that's the question you're asking, no regrets on my end. Seeking professional help has been one of the best things I've done for my life. And I would not be here without it. Big facts. I would not be here without it. Alright, so the 4 ways that ADHD can ruin relationships. Alright, number 1, inattention. Inattention. What does inattention mean? Right? We know what attention means, but what does inattention mean? So if you take the prefix in and you put it in front of attention, it just means that you struggle to pay attention. Alright? And ADHD really isn't struggling to pay attention. It's you having a hard time regulating your attention. And what does that mean? Regulating means sometimes we have to focus on certain things that require a lot of our brain cells. And other times, certain things don't require that many brain cells. And if we put too much thought into those things, it's going to burn us out for the things that we should be putting our brain cells into, right? So when you have ADHD, you struggle to regulate your attention. With ADHD and with life in general, you get credit for doing the right things at the right time with the right people. If you don't have all 3 of those things in check, you're not going to go as far as you want to go. So you have to do the right thing. What's the right thing for you to focus on at that time? That's a priority. And what's the right time to do it? Because if you have a project that's due at midnight and you're watching this live stream, yeah, you're learning and it's cool that you're watching this live stream, but you got a project due at midnight and you're in Tennessee and it's 10:41 p.m. right now. You got about 89 minutes to get your work in. You should get off of this live stream and go do your work, right? I want you to be here in this live stream because I want my likes to go up on TikTok. I want to tell you that you can hit the Service Plus button and get some more information about me, or drop your email there and we can shoot you some information. But if you have a project that's due tonight at midnight, you should probably be working on that instead of watching this live stream, because that's just more of a priority, right? So if you're having a hard time regulating your attention, you may not do the right thing at the right time. You're probably doing the wrong thing at the right time, or the right thing at the wrong time. Either way, we need right thing, right time, right people. And that's how you succeed. That is how you succeed. So if you are struggling with regulating your attention and there's moments where you are inattentive, all right, I think you can see how that can make a relationship difficult, right? You're talking to somebody, you're talking to your person, and you talk for like 20 minutes, you say so much, and then you ask them a question, and they're like, what? And you're like, yo, I was talking for the past 20 minutes, you didn't listen to me. And sometimes that person can understand that you didn't mean to not listen, but it still hurts. Personal relationships, business relationships. If you're working on a business with somebody and they're telling you about their business plan and they're rattling off all these different things, and then they ask you a question and you can't generate a response that shows that you listen to them, that's going to be pretty hurtful. Even though you didn't mean to do that. You just had a hard time regulating your attention, right? So struggling to regulate your attention, I mean, this is a devastating thing. Not only can it ruin relationships, it can ruin your whole damn life. Because as you get older, you got to pay taxes. You have to do things that you don't want to do. But if you forget things, how many late fees are you going to accumulate because you forgot to pay something? So now you got to pay something and you got to pay the extra fee attached to it, right? And if your partner trusted you to do something you didn't get done in time, it's going to cause arguments. It's going to cause fights. We're not going to like each other because we're going to go at each other's necks. All because something wasn't able to be done in time. Molly's saying, I feel I focus better when I do at least two things at once. Like listen to music while I chart or listen to a podcast while I clean. So for a lot of people with ADHD, this is how it works. And for me, this is kind of how I focus best. I like to have one thing on, and then I'm doing the thing that I have to do. So, for example, podcasts. You put on a podcast, right? Whether it's Theo Vaughn or whoever, your favorite podcaster, you put a podcast on for background noise, and then you start to work on the work that you should be doing. So, for a lot of us, that gives us the stimuli and the sensory input that we need to get going. The issues that podcast or whatever is playing in the background can distract you. So I like to put on football and have that in the background, even when my team is not playing. And I'll tell myself, okay, I'm going to work on these spreadsheets, but I'll have the football game in the background. But what happens when the football game becomes too exciting? And now I'm watching this game because it's a close game in the fourth quarter, and there's 2 minutes left. So now I'm glued to the football screen. And let's say I watch a football game and it lasts for 17 minutes, and I want to get back to my work. Now we have to transition from one task to the next. And when you have ADHD, going from one task to the next can be very difficult. The transitions are very hard for us, right? So you told yourself you were just going to watch the game for a little bit, but then you got hooked. And now it's time to get back to our task. And by the time that we get back to the original task, 3 hours have gone by. And time is money. So how much is an hour of your time worth? Whatever you think that is, times that by 3. Time is money. So inattention can be devastating. It can be devastating. And the person on the other side can think that you're not listening. And Josh, we put Raiders there. The Raiders beat my Titans, and our head coach got fired. I saw it. So it's been a tough time for us as Titans fans. And we'll stay loyal, and we will trust that our GM will make a good hire, a head coach. Right now, Mike McCoy is the interim head coach. But the Titans will depress me every Sunday, and I will continue to watch because I'm stubborn. So I'm going to keep doing that. Frosty says, my girlfriend forgets all the time. Could not tell you how many times the water has been turned off. Right. And look at Frosty's comment there. I don't think Frosty's girlfriend means to not pay the water bill or remind him about the water bill. But that is what inattention looks like. You had the water bill in hand and then you forgot. And I mean, this can break up relationships. It's a devastating price to pay. I told a story last year where I bought a brand new Tesla, right? Last year, got me a brand new Tesla. As I'm leaving the dealership, I have the Safari app open on my phone, and I'm in the process of getting car insurance for the Tesla. I know that you can't drive a car without car insurance, but I also have ADHD. So I open up the tab that I need to purchase the car insurance, but I already took the car off the lot. You know, as the story would have it, I get sidetracked, I get distracted. I forget to get the insurance. A week and a half later, my car gets into an accident. I'm leaving a concert, and my car is parked on the side of the street on Venice in LA. Somebody comes and rams my car. Boom. No insurance. You're supposed to be on the hook for this. But luckily, I had another car that I gave to my brother, which still had insurance, and that covered me. So I was lucky. But that mistake and that inattention could have cost me $37,000. So when we say that ADHD is expensive, it's not something that we're saying just for fun. I mean, it can be a devastating mental health condition. And small things that you forget can really cost you. And that's not fun. It's not fun at all. It is not fun at all. Yeah, Frosty, yeah, I know. And look, it's not about having the money to pay the bill, you know, because you can pay bills with money, but you have to have the attention to pay, to put yourself in a position to where you can do the task. So when you have the money, but you don't have the attention, the thing still doesn't get done. You still got to pay more money because paying the money wasn't the issue. Paying attention was the issue. Paying attention is costly. It's very costly. And Josh says, never park your car in Oakland. They're going to break your window. I did my headlining comedy show last year, New Year's Eve in Oakland. So I'm well aware of how things can be in the Bay. They bip your car and they take everything out of it. So I didn't even drive my own car. I had to rent a car in Oakland, and we didn't keep anything in the car. So luckily, people told me I didn't forget that. I didn't forget to, you know, exercise caution being in the Bay. Beautiful city. Oakland is still a beautiful town, but it can be dangerous. It can be dangerous, as some of y'all know. Annie says she's from Oakland, so Annie, you know. And somebody asks, is medication the only solution? No, medication is not the only solution for ADHD. There's a lot of things you can do for it. You could work on your sleep. You can work on your appetite. You can exercise. If you get enough sleep, if you get 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night, and you eat nutritious foods, and you exercise every single day, and you have ADHD, you will do better than 85% of people who have ADHD, whether they have meds or not. So meds are not the only thing, but meds play a big ass role in getting better, at least for me. But not everybody can do the meds, and sometimes they have side effects. So people look into nootropics or different lifestyle modifications. There's a lot that you can do, but meds are some of the most effective things, in my opinion, that can be done for ADHD. ADHD coaching is also very effective. Navigate your way to my profile, hit the Service Plus button, and then you can get some more information about the ADHD coaching that we do. But there's a lot of people who do ADHD coaching. All that can be effective. And the goal of the coaching is to help you identify your priorities better, and then to put an actionable plan towards that by creating a system. And the creation of a system is not really trying all these different things, but you really create a system by eliminating things out of your life, right? And what's stopping you from focusing? Maybe it's the alcohol, the substances, whatever it is. You drop those things and you remove the friction between you and the thing that you want to do, and then you're able to do that thing. So for me, I want to live stream, and because I want to live stream, I leave this Sony camera right here next to the computer with my phone right here. I made it extremely easy for me to live stream. And even then, we still had issues getting the stream going, but I made it as simple as possible for myself. I reduced the friction in between me and the thing that I want to do. And that's how you create the system. It's normally by eliminating things, not adding things. If you can stay sober and have good friendships and have non-transactional connections with people in your life, you'll normally do better. Sleep 8 to 9 hours, exercise, and what's the last one? Eat good. So if you can eat more whole foods, less processed foods, and eating good is expensive. So that's another challenge. It's going to cost you a lot more money to eat good than it is to eat junk, And Julie, so sorry for your loss. I'm reading your comment there. So sorry for your loss. ADHD coaching, I'd say it's fairly expensive. At least when we offer it, it does tend to be expensive because I'm the one that's doing it. So it's just my time. But some people have cheaper prices. Just make sure that whoever you go to for ADHD coaching, that they're credible. And, look at their life and see if it's something that you would like to mirror. If you don't want to have the life that somebody has, and just don't listen to what they say. Try not to copy them. Don't listen to them. Or do the opposite of what they're doing. All right, so 4 ways that ADHD can ruin relationships. Number 1 was inattention. Number 2 is time blindness. Time blindness. And this leads to you being late to a lot of places. And being on time shouldn't be a difficult thing to ask for most people. But if you have ADHD, being on time can be very difficult. I experienced this personally. And now I'm looking for active ways to rig my system to get to places a little earlier. Whether it's going to sleep earlier or waking up earlier. I'm always looking for things to rig my system. And one of the best things that I found is just having a fake clock around. So if it's 8:54 right now on the West Coast, my fake clock would say 9:17. And I'll do that in my car for many years. And then I'll hop in my car and then I'd be in a hurry because I'm like, oh man, it's 9:17. But it's really 8:54. So those small tricks can really help. Because if you have time blindness, you might be late dropping off your partner at the airport. Now they miss their flight. Now they have to connect in Chicago. And now their mood is funky because you took them to the airport late. Or you forgot to pick up the kids. These small things lead to big arguments. You forget date nights. I'm calling myself out. These are not things that you do on purpose. But these are things that happen when you have a hard time regulating your attention. And you have a hard time regulating your mood. And PJCJ says, we say don't blame me, blame ADHD because we aren't our diagnoses. All right, so it's not about blaming anybody per se. It's not blaming you or blaming the ADHD. And you don't want to make it seem like ADHD has you. You have the ADHD. So as you embrace the benefits that it gives you, you can also acknowledge the deficits that you have. But having a mental illness doesn't absolve you from getting certain things done. It's not an excuse. It's just an explanation. And it doesn't mean that the thing that wasn't done needs to stay undone. But it just means that, okay, this is why I wasn't able to get it done the first time, or this is why so-and-so happened, but I'm going to do better next time. It's meant for you to do better next time. It's geared for you to have a better plan for yourself. So you don't want to beat yourself up and go into, negative self-talk and so on and so forth. But you want to just say that, hey, it's an explanation for the way that I am. But just because I am this way now doesn't mean that I have to be this way in the future. So having ADHD is not an excuse to be late to places. It just means that we have to set our clocks ahead. We have to figure out some key tips and strategies. Maybe we can't get high on the weekends like everybody else. We have to figure out what we have to do for ourselves. So you're going to have a unique life. You don't get to do the things that everybody else gets to do. And that's okay. I tell my patients who have a family history of bipolar disorder or especially schizophrenia, I say, hey, maybe you can't get high like that because that could induce psychosis. So because of your genetic history, you want to be a little more careful, right? So depending on our genetic makeup, we can do certain things, and there's certain things that we can't do, right? Certain things that we got to avoid. Denevia said, I just literally had this conversation with myself. Talita says, very relatable comment, Talita. Talita says, I feel like my ADHD makes me not have time for our relationship. I end up over-explaining my basic behavior that's normal to me. To a man that has his own ADHD tics, or it's hard to constantly compromise each other's tics or schedules. New to the meds again after 10 years. Talita, and this is a very common struggle. And there's nothing wrong with getting back on the meds. And as you know, anytime you're taking the medications, you may feel like you're too reliant on it, and you're like, I don't want to feel like I need to take this medication to have my brain turned on. But when you feel like you can't have a relationship, and that's something that you really want, or you're having a hard time coexisting with other people, it makes you feel like you're the problem, or it makes you feel like you have to change something about yourself, when you really should be looking to improve yourself and focus on that as the priority, and then everything else that's added, that's cool. But you definitely feel like you have less time in a day when you have ADHD, and you don't have less time in a day. You have the same time as everybody else. But when you struggle with time blindness and inattention, which is 1 and 2 tonight in our list, you're gonna have a hard time prioritizing certain things. So you will feel like you run out of time quickly and quicker. So you'll be in a rush to do things, and you'll feel like you're losing control of everything. So that's why it's no shame in getting back on the medications, and you have to figure out different ways to find hacks that work for you. A lot of people with ADHD will, a lot of folks with ADHD will spend time writing out what they should do, and when it's time to do the thing, they don't do it. All right, like we know that we'll write out what we have to do, but when it comes down to doing it, you're like, I'm gonna write some more. No, do the damn thing. Do the thing. And I tell myself this all the time. After so much planning, I'm like, all right, no, let's get up and let's start doing, because you figure things out by doing it, not by writing it out. To-do lists are not priority lists. If they were priority lists, then they'd be worth making. But a to-do list of everything that's not done doesn't help you out that much. It doesn't help you out that much. And someone said, you never respond to my message. So with the Service Plus feature on TikTok, that's meant for me to get your email, and then my assistant, who has the information, my assistant can see everything that people DM me or whatever. He will send out a link to you, and then we'll correspond there. And the link will have all the services that we offer, the psychiatric services that we offer, evaluations for ADHD and autism, and coaching, and even my next comedy shows. By the way, my next comedy show is this Saturday in Hollywood at the Fourth Wall Comedy Club. So I just want to plug that in there. If you're in the Southern California area, navigate your way to my profile, hit the Service Plus button, and get more information. But back to time blindness. Yeah, the time blindness thing, it makes a lot of sense. It's difficult. And when you run out of time, it's hard to do things that you love. I love going live. And I use this example all the time, so that way y'all can see what I'm talking about. You know that this is relatable. And I'm not just talking at you. Like, we're having a conversation about real things that we all experience. I love going live. I love making content. Going live is not difficult for me. It's very easy. I enjoy the camera. I enjoy talking about the things that I know about. But the hardest part about going live is sitting my ass down here. And it's hard to do this when I'm doing that, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, and I'm there, but I'm here. And that's the hard part. The hard part ain't going live. This is I could go live. Like, I see Kai Cenat go live for 24 hours in a row. I could go live 24 hours. I could keep the camera on while I sleep. I mean, I ain't finna do all that and show y'all, too much of what I do, but I could keep this camera on 24/7. I like going live. But the hard part is just getting here on time, navigating the technology setup and the difficulties. That's the hard part. So sometimes you can enjoy something, but it can be difficult to do if you run out of time, or if you have a lot of balls juggling at one time. You're going to drop a couple of balls. It's going to happen. Unfortunately, it's going to happen. So that's why you have to know how to prioritize things for yourself when you have ADHD. Like, what's the most important thing for you to do? Knock that out as soon as possible. And then you have the rest of the day to yourself. And if you can follow the priority as opposed to what you feel like doing, because normally you go off of what you feel like doing. I feel like doom scrolling. I feel like getting out. I feel like doing this. I feel. Instead of doing things that you should be doing. If you started off with the things that you had to do, and then you went to things that you wanted to do, you realize that when it's time to do the things that you want to do, you want to do something else. So your brain, you want all these different things, but you need to be going off the thing that you have to do. And normally people do end up making their way to the most important thing. But for those of us with ADHD, we don't take a linear path. We have to go through pain, shame, losing money, pain, shame. And after that vicious cycle beats you up, you're like, all right, man, screw it. What's my damn priority? I'm going to do it now. And then you go off the priority, and then things become a bit clearer to you. And we want to make the side quest the main quest, when the main quest should be the main quest. You knock that out, come back to the side quest, right? So priorities is very difficult to achieve. It's a two-part thing. You have to figure out what the priority is, number one. Number two, you have to do it. So both are hard. Figuring out what the priority is and then figuring out how to do the damn thing, all of it is hard. All of it is hard. Number three, things that can ruin relationships when you have ADHD. Impulsivity. Starting things, stopping things, wanting to go here, wanting to go there. And being impulsive and being sporadic is part of the magic that you have when you have ADHD. Like, that's the cool thing about you. The fact that you can turn something out of nothing. You're the friend that people come to when they don't know what to do. They're like, we're in Charlotte for 12 hours on a long layover. What do we do? And you're like, all right, I got you. You go to the Charlotte airport, you pick them up, you drive them throughout the city, you hit this spot, you hit that spot. They can turn something out of nothing. They're the most spontaneous people, and you'll have a blast. That friend is going to be held in high esteem. Like, hey, we know we can call Anna. We know we can call Charles. We can call Josh. They're going to get the job done. They're going to give us something fun to do, right? So being sporadic and impulsive can definitely help you. But when you need consistency and routine, and you have to get certain things done, impulsivity, it can hurt you. Or nowadays we live in a day and age where you can press a couple of buttons and you can get food delivered to your house, 20 minutes. You can get products delivered to your front doorstep the very next day on Amazon Prime. So the system that is set up right now allows us to max out our credit card in one day. And we can max out our credit card within an hour. There's so much to buy. There's so much to do. There's so much. So if you're impulsive and you don't think things through, or you don't consult with your partner, like, these things can all ruin all types of relationships, interpersonal relationships and friendships. You got to be mindful of it. And some problems don't need fixing. You don't have to fix all your impulsivity problems, but when you're mindful of a certain thing or a trait that you have, then you're less likely to be impulsive, because you're just mindful that, okay, I like to just buy things when I feel like buying things. So I'm just going to keep an eye on that. And I'm going to give myself 2 things I can buy each week. And the max on each one is $25. Like, you come up with a system to curb the impulsivity because you're mindful of it. So the worst thing that you can do is just not, be mindful of it at all. Just pretending as if you don't struggle with a certain thing when you know that that's a challenge for you, or that it's not in your best interest to buy cookies and just leave them, in the fridge. You say, okay, I'm not going to eat cookies anymore, but I'm going to just buy them just in case. And I might have 1 cookie, but I'm not going to have a lot of cookies. Whatever. I'll just buy 1 cookie, So you buy a couple of cookies, or you buy a thing of cookies and you leave it in the fridge. You're like, all right, whatever, who cares about these cookies? And then you have a bad day, and then, you haven't had much sleep, and, people have been mean to you. You're like, you know what? All right, I'm just going to grab 3 cookies, and that's it. You eat the 3 cookies, you go back to the fridge, and you're like, all right, this is the last box of cookies I'm going to eat in one night. I'm just going to eat the whole box because I don't feel good today, but I'm not buying these cookies anymore. Then you eat the whole thing. Then the very next day, you're like, no more cookies. But then on the weekend, your football team lost. So you went to the store and you bought some more cookies and said, all right, I'm going to buy these cookies, but I'm not going to eat them. I'm just going to keep them there, right? If you're impulsive, you go off of how you feel, you're going to set yourself up for failure. And you're probably going to self-sabotage a lot. Self-sabotage is high in the neurodivergent population, especially with ADHD. You really should take your time and think about like the really, really big decisions, like where you're going to live, who you're going to be with, what you're going to do, like the big decisions. Take some time to think about those things and regulate your nervous system as best as you can before you make these big, big decisions. Molly says, if I maxed out $35,000 in one day, I would panic. Yeah, I think if you max out $35K in a day, you probably should panic. Exceptions being, if you have millions and you run all these different businesses, maybe $35,000 is just you buying 2 businesses on the weekend. All right. So all this is relative. Talita says, I usually don't think about how hot I can be because I find it superficial. I will get distracted and skip college to play with makeup when I'm not medicated and just smoking buds. So choosing the medicine path and making myself ugly as possible right now so I can focus. So Talia, I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, but guys, as guys, we have a version of this. Not saying that you're trying to make yourself look bad on purpose, which I think that you're saying, but as guys, we have a version called lock-in. And sometimes as guys, we'll lock in and we'll go 3 or 4 months without a haircut, and we'll look rough on purpose because we're not trying to be seen. We're not trying to go out to events. We're trying to lock in and grind and work 16-hour days. So sometimes as guys, we don't get the haircuts. I mean, we still brush our teeth and, we're baseline presentable. But, when you start to grind, you ain't got time for haircuts. You ain't got time for nothing else. All you can do is just grind. Grind your butt off. Work your face off. All right. Now, the 4th thing that can ruin relationships when it comes to ADHD, rejection sensitivity. All right? Rejection sensitivity. So, and this is also for autism as well. When you're neurodivergent, there's a good chance that you can take things personally. All right? And if you're autistic, you can take things literally and personally, and that's its own realm. But if you take things personally, it's going to be difficult for you to sometimes believe that people want your best interest or have your best interest at heart, or believe that somebody is your friend, or when your boss is trying to tell you how to do a certain thing, you can not like it, or if you try something very creative and you post a video of yourself singing online. Okay, if you struggle with rejection sensitivity, you'll post a video of yourself singing online, and there'll be a lot of comments of people saying, "Oh, that was so good. I know you could sing. I know you could play the flute. I know you could do all this." But then that one comment where somebody's like, "Your bathroom mirror is dirty," or "Why do you sound like a dying animal? You sound like a dying cat." Sometimes people are just assholes for no reason, right? But you might post something online and somebody will just talk trash, and that one comment will prevent you from ever posting again because you really took it to heart. And that's what a lot of us who have ADHD deal with. Being overly sensitive, being emotional, and it's not, I think we associate this with neurodivergent women, but as guys, we go through this as well. We'll shut down when we feel the rejection, or we may lash out and become angry and feel as if people don't have our backs. And if you really deal with rejection sensitivity, it prevents you from doing things. It prevents you from trying more and more. And I think that's more harm than good. It's still good to feel things, but if you can compartmentalize and say, okay, these people think this about me, and that doesn't reflect who I actually am, and that's cool. If you can leave it just like that, you'll do pretty good. But when you really feel what people say online about you, or the people in your life say about you, it'll be tough to get progress going. And PJCJ says, yes, we have this so bad. I'm autistic and have an ADHD husband. There's days where she'll question the love. Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot. People think that that's like an OCD thing where, you ask yourself, does my partner really love me? Does my spouse really love me? But you see that a lot with rejection sensitivity. And it's a wicked thing because it makes you, become a shell of who you used to be. And you have a hard time opening up. And the opening up is how you build that connection. Giving up on hobbies, that could be related to rejection sensitivity. It could be. You could give up on anything. You really have to, and this is where it's helpful to have a stable sense of self, so that people can say things and you can say, okay, cool. You think that I'm not good at the guitar, I'm not good at the flute. That's fine. I'm gonna keep playing this instrument because I enjoy it. Because if you stop doing certain things because people's opinions have affected you, there'll be so many things that you never continued with that you could have been a rock star at. Or if the person who should have beat Michael Jordan in the playoffs gave up before, he could get to college basketball, right? There's probably a player out there who would have dominated LeBron James, but he didn't play basketball after the 9th grade because some girl said something. Who knows? But there's so much that you strip yourself of, achieving and accomplishing when you're so focused on people's opinions of you. If you feel like the hobby is picked on, I don't know what you mean by that question. But in general, other people's opinions of you don't matter. And it's a weird balance because other people's opinions of you don't matter. Nothing matters as much as your own opinion of yourself. At the same time, when somebody that really knows you, take a sibling or a parent or a close cousin, when somebody who really knows you is trying to tell you something with intention of, opening up your eyes, or they're trying to help you out with something that you've asked for their help on, that person more than likely, now you could have a hating cousin, who knows, but that person more than likely probably has your best interests at heart. So if they say something that's hurtful to you, it's better to assume positive intent, because that's your cousin, that's your brother, that's your sister, that's your mom. And I know for some people, their mom, their dad, their parents can be their ops, right? So that it can be true. But for the most part, if somebody that you have a really good relationship with is trying to help you out with something, if you can detach your self-worth from their opinion of you or the criticism that they're giving you, you could put yourself in a really nice position where you can feel the hurt and the pain, but you still take the gems from what they're saying and you can make your life better. But when you struggle with rejection sensitivity, it's very hard to make progress in that category. Oh, and PJ, I answered the question? Gotcha. I'm happy I did. Make sure that we're talking about the right thing. And it's cool watching myself on the playback. I can see myself in the playback as I'm on the book, on Facebook at least. And it's cool because I'm like 7 seconds behind. Yeah. So those are 4 things that can affect or ruin relationships when you have ADHD. And I saw a survey that said that 96% of people who are in relationships where their partner has ADHD feel as if the ADHD causes negative effects to the relationship. So if you don't know how to regulate your brain and put yourself in a good position or the best possible position that you could be in, you could really struggle to sustain friendships and relationships. And this is unfortunate because, in the neurodivergent population, loneliness is a big thing. So you're already lonely, right? And you want connection, but you don't want people correcting you. You don't want people interrupting you when you talk. You don't want people who, sometimes try to look out for you. So it's tough to get that connection. Dr. Lindsay, thank you so much. I appreciate you. A lot of love from Phoenix. Yeah, Dr. Lindsay, thank you so much. And Ezra said, basically I associate rudeness with low intelligence. So I barely recognize those individuals. Am I wrong? I mean, look, if somebody's being rude to you, you have all, the right in the world to just distance yourself from that relationship. But you can have somebody who is rude, who is quite intelligent. So I don't think that rudeness and low intelligence goes hand in hand. But just because they're intelligent doesn't mean that you have to be friends with them. Because if they're rude and they're not, respecting your boundaries, they gotta go. Alcohol as a relationship. Jennifer, you know what? I could have added that as the fifth thing. I really could have. Not even just alcohol, but substances in general. Yeah, substances can absolutely ruin your relationship, and that's for anybody. Anytime one partner struggling with addiction, the relationship doesn't work out. In order for the relationship to work out, if you have issues with addiction, the other person also probably has to have the same struggles, because as you get clean, it kind of breaks y'all apart. So with neurodivergence, the substance use rates are way higher. ADHD and autism, you're much more likely to become addicted to smoking marijuana. You're much more likely to use alcohol, and these things aren't talked about enough. So who said that? Yeah, Jennifer Lynn, you're absolutely right. That should be an honorary fifth one. Big facts. Toledo, I appreciate you. Michigan State. And then Jay says lonely as hell. People don't understand. No, the loneliness is definitely there. It's a thing. It is a thing. It's a thing. Zanel says, how do you manage hyperfixation in a relationship? Can you elaborate on that? As in hyperfixation on the other person, or hyperfixation on a specific hobby or a task? Let me know so I can answer that question appropriately. Kate Armstrong, yeah, I had four ways that ADHD can ruin a relationship. And if you write down all the ways that ADHD can ruin a relationship, we'll probably end up at like 92 ways. So I just picked 4, but obviously there's way more than 4. On the other person, how do you manage? All right, so the best way to manage hyperfixation on another person in a relationship is to learn detachment. I think that can be very helpful with limerence and becoming hyperfixated on a certain person, because when you detach yourself from anything, whether it's a person, whether it's a job you really want, or whether it's your profession, because a lot of times we'll conflate our profession with our identity and our purpose. You're not a dentist, you're not a lawyer, you're not a doctor. Like, you're a person who happens to be in that field, but these things don't define you. But when you attach yourself to anything that doesn't belong to you, you put yourself in a great position to be hurt, right? So we come into this world with nothing, right? And we leave with nothing. And yes, we do lives every day, Monday through Friday. Not this Friday because it's a travel day, but Monday through Friday, we're back on our daily live streaming. So the lives are becoming shorter but more frequent. I'm going to give it a shot. But if you're hyperfixated on the other person, I think it's helpful to, go back to the basics. Remember who you were before. Write down your non-negotiables. Write down your boundaries. Write down the things that you won't bend for anybody. Because if you like somebody or something enough, you'll forgive a lot. You'll see past a lot of stuff. And I mean, in business, when people really like you, or just in general, networking, when people like you, they forgive a lot. So that's what we do. If we like a certain person, a certain thing, like, oh, this is whatever. Yeah, we like you. But you put yourself in a tough spot because whenever you do want to speak up for yourself, you'll be in a position where you don't have the leverage or the autonomy to speak up for yourself because you're so infatuated with the other person. So, as I said, I've done extreme nice things when I hyperfixate on a girl. And look, the nice things that you do, if you do nice things for somebody because you're just meeting them and you like it and you can keep that behavior up, then that's fine. But the issue is when you can't keep it up. So if you're doing like out of this world stuff, like every Friday you take them to a very fancy restaurant, you spend $500. Like if you can't sustain that thing, it's probably best not to start it or to do it in small amounts so that way you don't burn yourself out. The thing I love about her in the beginning was wanting to know everything about me. Details. Now, there can be healthy ways to get to know somebody without hyperfixating. And normally when you can get into the details of why somebody is the way that they are, you can really get to know the person. But yeah, Zanelle, I think that for those of us who are neurodivergent, we're definitely prone to the hyperfixation on another person. And my tip that I would give, like historically, the tip that I've given has been to pace yourself in the beginning. Like I had a rule that I even had for a long time where it was like you would spend like 1 or 2 days a week max with that person. Because in the beginning, when you really want to see them all the time, it forces you to still keep your eyes on whatever you were doing before that. So for those of us who are neurodivergent, or maybe you have BPD or something like that, if you're prone to limerence, I think a rule like that could be helpful. Now, it doesn't mean you have to do this or that every couple this will apply itself to, but just depending on look at your past history. If the last 4 people that you've dated, like you attach yourself to them really quickly, maybe it could be helpful to do that once a week rule and just kind of pace yourself, right? Pace yourself, like stretching out the time, in between the dates and the outings, just so you can catch your breath. What is limerence? Limerence is, I'd call it an unhealthy obsession with someone that will cause you to overlook potentially detrimental traits. Like you're just obsessed with somebody, and normally it's more so an obsession about the idea of the person as opposed to the actual person. Like you've met them and like you're digging them and they're cool and they're awesome, and because they're so awesome, you've created another version of that person in your head. And even when that person doesn't live up to that version that you have in your head, you still like them because that's what you believe that they are. So it's quite damaging, and you set yourself up to be in toxic situations if you experience limerence often. Because let's say you are infatuated with somebody and they want you to do all kinds of things that you're not comfortable with doing. You'll bend over backwards, you'll jump up and down, do back flips and front flips. You'll do every single thing. You'll throw away your boundaries and your standards because you want to impress this person. You hate to let them down. So it can be dangerous to get in these situations. But it feels good. And things that feel good, we tend to like. My new girlfriend has ADHD. Okay. Man, I have a problem with caring for others and trying to comfort them, but I don't know how. Sometimes it can be as easy as just asking them, like, how can I help you out? How can I help you out? And Kate says, there's at least 100 ways to ruin relationships with ADHD, and I've done them all. And as we improve our relationship with ourselves, the relationships that we have with others tends to get better. But we have to acknowledge the things that we experience. We have to acknowledge the loneliness, acknowledge the frustration, acknowledge the sensory overload, acknowledge the disappointment that we have with ourselves, and just do your best to understand that you're not a flawed person. I mean, that you are a flawed person, but you're not a bad person. Is limerence associated with ADHD? I would say it is. And neurodivergence. But it's not specific to these things. So it doesn't mean that you only see limerence in ADHD or autism. You can see it in BPD or trauma or borderline. I have ADHD and undiagnosed autism and a lot of prize bundles. That's why they put that, the prize bundles. But we should probably have a live stream on limerence. I think we should do one for the new crew, a live stream on limerence and how to navigate it. Because if that's your default and you tend to be there and you can just bring down a little bit and add some healthy coping strategies, that could be a really cool thing, right? Because your tendency is to go all out and to be like obsessed. But if you can just bring that down a little bit and just add a couple of non-negotiables and boundaries, I think it can make for a really good relationship, a really good situation. All right. Okay, all right. It's getting to 9:30, so it's damn near by my bedtime. So I gotta stick to my bedtime so I can hit the gym in the morning and do everything that I say I want to do. And we should probably even do a part 2 on this. So on TikTok, I have my live stream schedule set for the week. And, we have different topics, but like I'm not done with what I want to say. I still got, more I want to say. Yeah, Danny, we're in California. I still got a lot more that I want to say. Okay. This should probably have been like a 3-part series. And we probably will. Now that we're streaming more frequently, we probably will do more of this. Because I got a lot to say and I got a lot of clips to clip out of these different live streams. Oh yeah, Tia, we've had a beautiful conversation today. We most definitely have. Yeah, we're vibing. We're having fun. All right, so that'll be it for the live stream today. If you look at the schedule on my TikTok homepage, we will come back again tomorrow at 8 p.m. California time, 11 o'clock Atlanta, 10 o'clock Nashville, 9 o'clock Phoenix, 8 o'clock Los Angeles, 7 o'clock Alaska, 5 p.m. Honolulu. I'm getting all the times correct. So until tomorrow, until then, take care.